My husband, Ken, and I embarked on a journey to build our dream family home together when we got married. This home represents the most significant investment I have ever made in my life. We both cherished the idea of creating a haven where our family could thrive. However, I now find myself devastated as all of our shared belongings have been discarded. It's hard to comprehend that our beloved family home is slipping away from us in this manner. Ken and I tied the knot 3 years ago and immediately began the process of constructing our own family home. We have diligently worked towards paying off the mortgage. The moment we stepped into our newly built house, I remember being greeted by its fresh scent and the warm smile on Ken's face. The spacious living room, bathed in morning sunlight streaming through the expansive windows, fulfilled a lifelong dream we had held since the early days of our relationship. Throughout the construction, Ken made a genuine effort to incorporate my preferences and ideas. I was particularly focused on the design of the built-in kitchen and the size and orientation of the windows. I reveled in the sunlight that poured into the room on Sunday afternoons around 2 p.m., as it created a perfect ambience. With that gentle warmth illuminating our space, my husband and I would unwind, relax, and even take blissful naps together. And once I brew the coffee with these delicious coffee beans, the room is filled with the good aroma of the coffee. This is what I would call my moment of happiness, but to be realistic, it truly costed us a lot to get our blissful moments with our family home. I'm just really glad that I have been working properly and consistently. When we were qualified for the mortgage, I patted myself on the back for working hard this whole time, and my husband felt the same, of course. But within a month since our family home was completed, I received a call from my mother-in-law, Pam, who had been living apart from us. "You and Ken built a family home. Is that right? Well, now that it's completed, I'd like for you to let me live with you both in that house. If I continue to live in this rundown house all by myself, I will get sick." Pam is single and she's living on her own on welfare. Pam and I were not that close to each other as I just only went to greet her when I was about to marry Ken. To be honest, it is really difficult for me to have Pam suddenly living with us as a newly wedded couple in our own home. I know you, Anna, and I can see how my mother living with us would be a huge burden to you. So I'll tell my mother that we can't live with her and refuse. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thankfully, my husband is a man who takes my feelings into consideration and really understands me. So then my husband had refused Pam about her idea on living with us. And 2 years later, Ken and I had our first baby. I guess Pam thought that it was a good opportunity for her, so she suggested the idea to live with us again. Isn't it hard to take care of the baby and do the house chores all by yourself? If I get to live with you all, I will definitely help you taking care with the baby and the house chores. And besides, it's a great opportunity, so please let me live with you all. It's true that taking care of the baby and doing all the house chores requires hard work, and I would actually appreciate her if Pam would help us out. Plus, I plan to go back to work eventually, and so it would be better to have more people taking care of the baby. Well, what do you think? Oh, I think it might be a good idea to have someone help us out at least. Well, yes, if Pam keeps her word and helps us properly, then Pam was really delighted when I agreed for her to move in with us on the condition that she would help me with the baby and house chores. Once we began living together, Pam took it very seriously and helped out with the baby and the house chores all on her own. Okay, well, I'll do the laundry and fold the clothes. Okay. Thank you. While you're gone for the groceries, I'll look after the baby. Okay. Ah, who's a good boy? You are a good boy. Thank you very much. I honestly didn't expect Pam to help me like this. I even felt a little guilty that I underestimated her. She has been really helpful around the house and I should be really grateful of her or so. I thought Pam, taking it seriously and helping around the house and taking care of the baby only lasted for about a week. After that, She would just slack off and relax around once my husband was gone, or doesn't even take care of my son, even though I asked her to look after him. This happened a lot, and I'm starting to not trust Pam more and more. Pam hasn't been taking the house chores seriously lately, and I can't even ask her to take care of her son. Let alone do the housework if she's being like that. I see. All right. I'll talk to my mother about it. My husband tried to warn her several times, but she wouldn't really listen to him. You know, I'm doing my best too. Anna is just being too strict here. But you need to help us out properly. That's why we're living together in the first place. What are you trying to kick me out? Ugh. Please don't be so cold about it. Ugh. Please don't kick me out because of this. Whenever Ken warned her, she either blamed me or cried to make him feel sorry for her. And so like that, Pam persistently continued to stay at our house. Pam, who no longer helps me raise and take care of our son properly, has also become annoyed with him gradually. Oh, he's crying again. He's so loud there. There. Hurry up and make him stop crying already. Not only does she not take care of our son, but I feel nothing but anxiety when she's around him. Honey, I'm really afraid to let our son get close to Pam like this. I really want her to leave our home as soon as possible. All right. I understand. I'll get my mother a new place to live on her own so that I can convince her. My husband prepared to rent an apartment so that Pam would easily leave our home. Before I knew it, our living room was full of Pam's stuff. I have to hold our son all the time because it could be really dangerous if he bumps into Pam's stuff or puts them into his mouth. We have already warned Pam enough, but she still won't change her attitude. We will definitely persuade her to leave our home. When I was thinking that, oh no, he's gone. Why our son was missing from his room where he was supposed to be sleeping in. I looked around in a panic and found Pam taking our son outside. What are you doing? How dare you take our son out without our permission? I just wanted to show off my grandchild a little. Do you have any clue how worried I was if I took him out like this? People will try to maybe share us with something, you know, so you shouldn't worry that much, and you're being too loud shouting like that to me. I just couldn't believe that Pam would take our son out without saying anything to me, and it didn't even look like Pam was guilty about it at all. But instead she got angry hearing the story. My husband got also furious, so at once we had Pam leave our home without question. 1 year has passed since then. Our son had turned 1 year old and gradually began to walk little by little. Then suddenly my husband was involved in an accident on his way home from work one day, and unfortunately passed away. I was at a loss of words, having lost my husband so suddenly. Why did he have to leave us? What am I going to do with my son who's still small? Even at Ken's funeral, I was so sad that I could not stop crying. Then Pam began to talk to me. Hello. Long time no see, Anna. I never thought that we'd see each other again like this. Oh, Pam. For Pam, her own son had passed away. The grief of a mother who has lost her son must be very deep. I should not be the only one crying for Ken like this. I must be strong for him. I answered Pam, trying desperately to hold back my tears. It was just really so sudden. Indeed. So since the family house belongs to my son, I'm supposed to get it right. Huh? Then could you leave the furniture too? Excuse me. What is she even saying? I thought we were both grieving the loss of our beloved, but then she started talking about the house, the furnitures, and other things that didn't make sense to me at all. I was just so confused by Pam's words, and even if she said that she would take the house, it costed about $500,000 to build it. And there's still the mortgage which needs to be paid. Even if that's true. What about the mortgage? Oh, well, you are going to pay that, right? Excuse me. When the world is she saying, I can't believe that Pam would even bring it up at Ken's funeral in the first place. I'm not sure that I want to talk about that right now. We are at Ken's funeral after all, but it's very important that we talk about this anyways. But now's not a good time to, anyways. I will get the house right. How could she be so obnoxious? Pam seems to want to get a clear confirmation from me that I would give her our house, but I was being so sad about Ken and I was getting so fed up of Pam being like this. That's it enough, Pam, we are at Ken's funeral. If you continue to be like this at the funeral, please leave immediately. When I said that strongly, Pam became silent and left my side. What was she really thinking when her own son had passed away? Sometime later, after all the funeral, cremation and such were over, I was able to calm down for the time being. I can't stay sad forever. I have to do my best and work hard to make a good living for my son. So, I left my child at daycare center and returned to work. My days were very hectic with workhouse chores and taking care of my son. Then one day when I returned home after picking up my son, I saw all of my belongings being left on the garbage dumpster near the entrance. What is the meaning of this? My clothes, desk and work things were all piled up in one big dump, but upon looking closely, it seems that my expensive clothes, my expensive accessories, the TV, the huge fridge and so on, weren't taken out as a garbage. Oh, what a great timing. You live here, right? Well, the cost of this move is, huh? And then the mover who was there talked to me and charged me a fee for something. I couldn't really understand what was going on. Once I listened to what the mover was saying, I found out that Pam was the one who had hired him. What is she trying to do? Was Pam in my house right now? I tried to go inside, but for some reason the front door would not open. Don't tell me that Pam has even changed the locks already. Maybe Pam had somehow gotten my house key when I was just being too busy with Ken's funeral. I immediately called Pam. What is the meaning of this, Pam? How dare you come into my house without any permission and throw out my stuff without even asking me what's so wrong of me for taking my own son's stuff? You're not a family anymore, so get out. I beg your pardon. Ken is not here anymore, so you're not a family anymore. Get out before I report you for trespassing, saying that Pam just hung up the phone on me. How selfish and messed up she is. I really have to get my house back somehow, but my son began to cry and I couldn't stay out there forever, so I thought that I better go to a hotel or my parents' house. I asked the movers to move my belongings to a storage for the time being, and I left for now. And a week later I received a phone call from Pam who sounded really upset. Hey, the police came over here and it looks like they're trying to make me leave the house. Please do something about it. How could she even say such a thing after she was the one who kicked me out? Pam was being too selfish. Even if you say so. I am not your family anymore since I've gone through postmortem divorce settlement. What postmortem divorce? Yes. It's a procedure to terminate the relationship between myself and the relatives of my deceased husband. What? Since I am still Ken's spouse, I will inherit the house, but I have cut ties with you and I have no obligation to have you living in my house, nor do I owe you any support. Huh? You know that I literally have nothing, and yet you're kicking me out. Yes, I did so as you wish since I'm not your family anymore, but I took care of the baby. You're so ungrateful and you're just really so cold and strict. Pam didn't sound like she realized what she was doing was wrong, but instead she got angry. It's not like she didn't take care of my son much, so I really don't owe her anything. Well, this is the reaction I expected from her, though. If you say that, then I have no choice. You can live there if you want. Oh, really? You said that I can, right? I can really continue to live here, right? Yes. But instead, please pay the mortgage for the house as a one installment. Excuse me. You don't really have to pay the mortgage, which has already been paid for up until now. You only need to pay for the remaining mortgage. You should know though that it's a lot. What the? How could I possibly pay the mortgage on a house that has only been built for 3 years and for one installment? Well, if you can't, then the house there is mine, and you, who is not my family, should be reported for breaking and entering my house. I told her so and hung up the phone. By the way, since we had insurance, I didn't have to pay for the mortgage anymore when my husband passed away, but I don't really have to tell Pam about that. Few days later, I finally got back into our house, but it was a mess. The furniture was damaged, and my clothes were all messy too. I took photos of each and every one of them and documented them, along with how much it all costed when I was kicked out of the house from Pam a few days ago. But even if I file a claim, there's a good chance that it'll be overlooked because Pam definitely would not be able to pay back all the money. But if Pam does anything to me in the future, I will be able to use this to make her shut up. She then contacted me asking me to pay her $1,000 fine for trespassing, but of course I ignored it. Can't she see that I am the victim here and that there is no way in hell that I would pay that for her? And 3 years later, in the end, Pam was not able to pay the fines and was found guilty for being malicious, and she was imprisoned for 3 years. Pam, who had recently completed a 3-year period, reached out to me in a distressed state. It was evident that she was facing significant troubles and had nowhere to go. Her calls seemed to be made from a payphone, as it would intermittently disconnect while she spoke, likely due to the need to gather funds from strangers to cover the costs. Eventually, it became clear that she had lost her place and had no home to return to, an apartment that my husband had previously rented for her, which he had since terminated. In order to prevent any potential return by Pam, we made the difficult decision to sell our cherished family home, which Ken and I had built together. I conveyed to Pam that I no longer had any involvement in her life and urged her to stop bothering me, insisting that she find her own path forward. I ended the call and took measures to ensure she could no longer contact me. It appeared that Pam lacked the motivation to take charge of her own life, leaving me with a firm resolve to raise my son to be self-reliant and resilient. With this in mind, I lovingly held a photo of Ken and our son, grateful for the strength and determination I intended to instill in him. Thank you for accompanying me until the end of this story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel. We look forward to sharing our next video with you.